And the next topic we have to discuss is America when it comes to the covering of the Modelo virus and their obsession with cases. Notice how the Post moved. It used to be caring so much about people that died or were going to die. And because the deaths went down, which means the survival rate goes up, they can't focus on deaths as much, though they still will. En masse, like lumped together, they will, but they can't in comparison to what's going down currently. They can't do that. It doesn't make sense for them to do that because it doesn't fit their narrative. So now what they have began to start talking about are the cases. Cases. X amount of cases in this geographical area. Ring the alarm. Thousands of people test positive. And to that I say, so what? So what? So what? Like, do y'all not understand that even the catchphrases and the slogans, rather, that a lot of the weirdos are throwing out there, such as flatten the curve, had absolutely nothing to do with ending the virus. Nothing. It had nothing to do with that. It had nothing to do with assuming that the people would never catch it. Not at all. It actually, to the contrary, it always assumed that X amount of people were going to catch it. The whole idea supposedly was to try to slow the spread so that you spread the amount of infected over a course of, or rather over a period of time, so that you didn't exhaust your hospital resources. That was the point of flatten the curve. It had nothing to do with stopping people from getting the virus altogether. That was never what it was about. Now, I was one of the ones that was going to scream flatten the curve anyway. I'm just giving you a reminder of your own slogans that you didn't say until this happened, right? Nobody said flatten the curve. That was never a part of anybody's rhetoric until this happened. But that's what that rather theory had anything to do with. So now we're focusing on the cases, though, because they can't scream doom and gloom without giving you some sort of high number to focus on. So why not the cases? Why not be able to do that? They can still control you. They can still put fear in you. They can instill fear. They can justify everything that they've done prior to that, though have been ineffective. They've ruined so many people's livelihoods, businesses, all of that. They get to justify that, however, if they have something that they can pinpoint is a problem. And that's cases, no matter if it goes to the contrary of what it is that they were talking about before. So the focus is cases. And again, to that I say, so what? So what people are getting it, right? Now, that doesn't mean I want people to get it. And that certainly doesn't mean that I'm advocating that people get sick and die from it, which will inevitably happen as it happens with other viruses as well. What I'm saying is, why is that so alarming, especially when you consider the mass amounts of we have never, ever tested for anything like we have COVID-19 in recent modern history, where they encourage you to do it frequently as you can, for free. In a lot of cases, they expect your insurance to pay for it. So a lot of people that either have the mildest of symptoms or don't have symptoms at all are getting tested. We don't do that for anything else. So why are the cases such a main? Why are we talking about that so much? When, again, going back, originally it was assumed, or it should have been, if you didn't know what you were talking about as you were touting flatten the curve, it should have been assumed that a lot of us were going to get it either way that it went. Some quicker than others, but a lot of us were going to get this. Here we are talking about cases. Because they need something to have you focus on that they can constantly count. And you see the number and they say in the area, USC's, like it says right here, USC's is reported by Reuters. Reuters. U.S. sees nearly 500,000 is what it says. Nearly 500,000 COVID-19 cases in a week. Right? That sounds scary, doesn't it? If you are a doom and gloomer, right? That sounds scary as all hell. Wow, 500,000 COVID cases in a week. Granted, the overwhelming majority of them are not going to need to go to the hospital. The overwhelming majority of them are not going to need to, or not even going to have, they're absolutely going to survive. The vast majority of them. Yet, that's what they have you focusing on, the cases, because they need you to be scared of something. And again, they have to justify how they botched this whole entire situation. And when I say botch, I'm not talking about leftists with this vague bull crap of, well, if we acted early, we wouldn't have had to go through this. Again, the evidence doesn't even point to that, as you have countries that were acting very early on who are seeing yet another surge anyway, right? So all of their little metrics and all the numbers that they tried to shift around to justify what it is that they were doing, and definitely in European countries, wasn't working anyway. But that's what they got to have you do. They have to have you focus, on that to justify absolutely derailing the livelihoods of so many people, guys. There are so many, and I say this as a person that's in the music industry, so many people are not getting on the other side of this. There is no, well, we'll come back once things reopen. There ain't no reopening. You can't shut people down for 7-some months, 8 months, and then it's just like a lot of us are just going to be able to get the jobs that we had. No, this is something that people are going to be recovering for going into the next decade. And they got it wrong. That's what I mean when I say this, that they got it wrong. As in, they put the country under lockdown. They put the country under ridiculous restrictions. And they mess businesses up in the process. They have to, though, justify that. So what did they do? They focus on cases. Never mind 99% survivability rate. It's even a high survivability rate with people that have comorbidities and old people. Believe it or not, they even have a high survival rate. They just have a lower than the rest of the population. Like people in my age bracket are surviving this 99% plus, bros. Yet we're mass testing like nothing else we've ever done before. And that's what we're focusing on. Cases. Of course, you're going to get confirmed cases for a virus that most people are going to have mild symptoms, no symptoms, not get hospitalized. Of course, if you test positive, if you're always, testing people for this, you can drive through. It's all of these forms, testing. Is all they focus on. So, of course, your numbers are going to be high. But notice that shift. Notice that post shift. We're now talking about cases, which is par for the course because they've shifted the post numerous times. It's like why they don't talk about Sweden anymore. Right? Or when they do talk about Sweden, they have to try to talk about their neighbors. Right? Well, their neighbors did a little better. Right? Wait a minute. It was about flattening the curve. Why move the post from there? You stated that if we didn't get this under control, and you didn't do lockdowns and things of that nature, then any population is going to exhaust its hospital resources. Sweden proved to the exact opposite. They had no mask mandates, no lockdowns, hospital resources never were exhausted. That was the original goalpost. They don't even talk about that. Y'all remember flatten the curve? Y'all remember that? Remember that? I remember flatten the curve. And now it's no longer a thing that we don't even talk about. But what we do talk about are cases. Unbelievable.